Hello YouTube, I am back again with another video for you guys today. Today I am here with a good friend of mine named Jay Munster.
Hello, hello.
And today we are here to talk and ramble about video games for a certain amount of time. Basically what we're going to be doing is talking about various topics in video games that we want to talk about, such as Warhammer Total War, as you can see from the screen I have up here. It's going to be Warhammer Total War, Skyrim mods, possibly esports as well, and basically anything we can think of. That pretty much it.
Yeah, probably get started with Warhammer Total War since that's like the big kind of thing to come out in the uh, the gaming scene lately, other than like The Witcher 3. But like in terms of strategy games, like that's probably I think what everybody is really sitting on the edge of their seat for.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, what Warhammer Total War seems like to me is, well, it obviously it's gonna be Total War Warhammer, but which is a terrible name. It should be Total Warhammer, but that's been said. But yeah, what's it seems like from what I've seen from the forums, is what they're going for instead of, well, obviously they have four races: vampire counts, empire, uh, dwarves, and the orcs. So what it seems like, obviously they only have four races, which is very small compared to everything they've normally done, which I'm actually pretty cool with. Because if you look at recent Total War titles, cough cough Attila, basically what Attila's most of Attila's factions are basically the exact same thing, copy and paste. So with the way obviously Warhammer works with the factions being completely different from each other, with the way their strategies work, orcs are going to work completely different to say the Empire and the dwarves. So I'm pretty cool with it being like, like small in depth, but or small in scale and like more in depth, which is basically what I've heard they said they're going for, which is, like small
Which
but a lot, but a lot in each faction.
yeah, which I think is really gonna. I think it's gonna be a good thing. I mean, I wish that there was more than four factions. I'm not entirely sure. Did they say factions or did they say races? Because I've heard like kind of like mixed from various people. It could just be people using one word to mean the other. Like, are they doing? Is it just the Empire? Or are they doing like humans as a faction? Because that encompasses like a lot of things, like Bretonia and like the Spain analog and like the Border Princes and even Chaos, who featured really prominently in the trailer. So I'd be surprised if they didn't have them in at release, given just how important they are to like you can't have a Warhammer game and not include Chaos in some form. So if they're not in the initial release, I mean, obviously they'll come in as a DLC later. But I would like to see just exactly how expansive they kind of go with like, okay, we've got the dwarves, and then there's different kinds of dwarves. Are they going to have like a faction for the Slayers? Or are they going to like subsume them into the dwarven factions? And how's that going to work? You're going to have to like conquer the Slayer Keep, which it's a Karak, but I can't remember exactly what it's called. Like, do you conquer them and subsume them into your dwarven empire, and then you can recruit them? How's that going to work? How's it going to work for the empire? That's like, is it just going to be like just the empire and not the other humans? Because then you can break it down into like the different counties, right? Like, because you've got like Reichland and like Ostland and all these different areas that'll have their own like their own kind of flavor and way of waging warfare and resources and things like that. So like your Reichlanders are going to be like the Heartland. They're going to be like really heavily armed and armored and that sort of thing. And then you've got like your more not necessarily poorer but maybe not as well off as the other provinces. So how's that going to work out? And then
I think the word they used was racist, if I remember rightly. I
right.
think the word they used is racist. So I think the Empire will be all one faction, possibly, and I think then they'll split up Bretonia and the other humans. Although I think the Empire is all one faction, which I'll be disappointed in. For
That
I would like it to be different factions, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did all one faction.
mhm. I mean, I think that'd be a really cool kind of way of like managing, well, not just like well, like representing the empire, because the empire is, it's unified, but it's also kind of like fractured at the same time. Like the whole empire thing isn't like the title of emperor. It's not hereditary, right? Like they're elected from the counts from the various provinces within the empire. So is that how they're gonna like? Are they gonna go in depth on that? Are they gonna make like an actual political system instead of sort of like fopping us off with like a half-assed one like they did in Rome 2?
Yeah, hopefully
It'd
not.
be it'd be really cool to see how that works out, or like especially how the greenskins. I mean, like how is that going to work out? Because you're not going to have a. Well, they've already said that they're not going to have like family trees for these guys because you can't. Like the greenskins, it's not a hereditary monarchy. It's more like who's the biggest baddest thug in the sea of big bad thugs.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what happens when their faction leader dies? Do they like break down into civil war, and then you have to like reconquer territories that you've lost, that you had already conquered already, in order to get like the momentum for the WOG moving again? Or how's that going to work out?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. As for like say, as you said, like with the Empire, you know, they have each their principalities. If they were gonna do the Empire in their whole as one faction, I would like it kind of like Rome 2's like political system, just with you know actually having it worth a damn, and you know being actually useful.
What
But
would you if you were CA, what would you do to implement like a political system? Like what would you like to see that they didn't do in Rome 2, or that you felt could be expanded on from Rome 2?
I'd have it actually have more importance instead of just stat boosts. But that's
Yeah.
the main thing, because that's all it felt like to me. Like I think I looked at it once, just get one stat boost, and that was about it. And then I'd like it to actually have importance that instead of like like you know the way they did the way like they sort of they definitely improved it with Emperor Edition, because they actually made it like the civil war and not just this thing that just happens, and it actually like working with your political system. But I'd want it to have more importance in the fact that you know the way like you want to have kind of like the way you know the Pope did in Medieval 2, where you got to vote for the Pope and each faction
Yeah.
would vote for the Pope. I'd like it. I'd like the succession to be kind of like that, because that's the way it would have worked in the Empire, if I'm not mistaken. Like they kind of did the Holy Roman Empire way, where they like
Yeah.
elected their emperor. So I'd like to be kind of doing with that kind of system.
I was thinking something similar to that because, you know, it is like the emperor is kind of like the pope. I mean, he's elected, so you could have like perhaps like an influence system that's similar to Rome 2, but like work like missions into the actual story, because it seems like what they're doing is not just going for like just, you know, the regular old Total War title with like Warhammer units, is that they're actually trying to make, you know, things a little bit of a narrative. So like your faction leaders are going to actually grow in fairly interesting ways. Like you're going to be able to get them like mounts and things like that. So like, you know, new horses or flying mounts, or in the case of,
Dragons,
yeah, in the case of like the undead, a dragon.
undead
Uh,
dragons. I would love that.
It'd be really cool. So it seems
Imagine
like that's,
trying to balance that though.
I was
Ah,
wondering that. I mean, you would have. I was wondering how they're going to do that for like large creatures in general. But
yeah.
like, so yeah, your faction leaders are going to be, you know, kind of growing with you in fairly interesting ways. So how are you going to, like, could you make like kind of story missions that are more political in nature rather than just, you know, a military conquest? You know, that'd be an interesting way to go about doing it. I don't know how I would personally implement that, but I think that'd be like what you said. That would be a cool way of like gaining the influence that you need to elect this new person to put them in power. But then you also got to deal with, on the other hand, what happens if you fail to do that? Do you have to, like, how do you do that without kind of like taking, you know, the controller away from the actual human being,
Yeah.
and like letting the AI, you know, kind of lead things and call crusades? Or are you going to have to like pay a certain amount of lip service? Like when they want, you know, to expand militarily into a certain area, you have to go with them, or you could, you know, risk possibly starting a civil war or something like that. Just kind of, you know, making that like political kind of machinations behind the scenes sort of thing really matter. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm. And well, and also let's how well obviously the empire is based off Renaissance sort of weaponry. And okay, we're back. Game decided to crash, as typical.
Where
Okay.
were we? I think we're talking about leaders and things, and just kind of how you're going to fit a political system in there to make things a little more interesting.
Yeah, and I think I was about to move on to armies, but yeah, keep going.
Ooh, armies. No, continue. That's the best part.
Okay, so the way the empire works is it's basically based off 17th century Rome, or 17th century like Renaissance sort of unit.
Yeah,
So it's a
like
lot of halberds, cannons, and
pike and shot era sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, and so that is going to be complete with the way they have to implement Total War is with Total Warhammer is that the Empire is obviously going to fight completely different to say the Greenskins, where they're just going to be like would be tides of green, followed by more tides of green, followed by more tides of green.
Exactly.
So like they're basically Mordor on steroids, is what they are, is what the what the orcs and goblins are.
Yeah.
And of course, with the undead, they're going to be completely different, and of course, the dwarves are going to be different as well. So it's definitely going to be It's definitely going to be interesting to see how they implement it, and also with their DLC, which is actually done differently to most Total Wars. Which they're basically going. They said they're going to have like three it's going to be this game, then 2 expansions. So I'm not sure that's going to be like adding more of the map, which I presume is what they're going to do, and they're going to add it to the main map, and then it's going to be like the biggest Total War we've ever seen. Use their words, I think. I'm paraphrasing there, obviously.
My understanding of it is that they're going to try and encompass like most of like the old world. So you're going to get I think they had like maybe in line like 2 or so expansions that are like Attila, in that they're like a big kind of standalone thing, just not just like a campaign, but like this whole kind of scenario that you've got all this new units and new mechanics and all that kind of stuff in. So I think that's what they're kind of shooting for. I would expect to see, if we don't see chaos in the original release, like in the vanilla release, then I would expect to see a chaos campaign, because there's no way that they won't include chaos in a major way in Warhammer, because you can't. Like
Yeah.
I'm shocked they don't have them, because of how prominently they featured in the trailer and in Warhammer, especially between.
I think they're going to be. Sorry, keep going.
Oh no, go for it.
And just I think they are going to be there. I don't think they're going to be like. Or they might be. I don't think they're going to be there. I think they're going to be there. I don't think they're going to be playable, because basically so you can unbalance them like hell. So because you don't have to balance them in, say, like a multiplayer sense, or like an actual or a single player sense, where you don't have to where the player isn't playing as them, so you can make them as basically as OP as you want. So I think they might not include them. I think they might like be kind of like antagonists, where like they're like kind of like chipping away at your borders, trying to cause up trouble, like the way some parts of the Empire like can fall to heresy. So I think I think they might be something like that. Or they could go the way Call of Warhammer this mod did, where it just basically send stack after stack after stack at you until you die.
That would make me very unhappy.
Yeah.
I would not be satisfied with that as a mechanic.
Yeah.
Chaos Invasions would be cool, but I would hate it to just be like seeing who has more stacks, that sort of thing, because that's what happens on a lot of the mods. Like that's why I don't think I've like successfully finished a campaign in most of like the Medieval 2 kind of mods, is just because it just becomes a slugfest between like the AI who gets an unlimited amount of money and you just trying to outmaneuver them and just like crush stack after stack, and it just gets boring. I mean, you can only win so many epic victories before they stop becoming epic and start just becoming bland, as like toast without butter, basically.
Yeah, and like I think one of the good things about this was like the way they knew or not new, but the regeneration system they introduced for Attila and Rome 2, and I think did they have it for Shogun 2? Like the system where like your units regenerate turn after turn instead of having to like rechain them each, or was that in?
I think they do have that in Shogun 2.
Yeah, but yeah, like I think that'll make battles a lot better, because that's one thing I do prefer from the newer titles over from the original games is that, because oh man, trying to play the Empire as in this game and having to wait for ages for your tubes to return is so frustrating. Because like it's yeah, it does get very tedious and annoying. So
Yeah,
that will make things easier and make the campaign flow better as well.
I agree with you, and then it does make things flow a lot better. But I'm kind of on the fence about it because I do like that like extra layer of difficulty of like trying to keep up your supply line so that you can keep an offensive going rather than just like recruiting as you go along. I mean, it's really good for keeping the flow of a campaign, and it really sucks having to like winning a massive victory, but like taking just enough casualties that you can't really follow up and take the initiative. But I think that that's kind of I think that's a layer of difficulty that I enjoy in like say Medieval 2 or Rome, like the original Rome, is that you have to kind of be cognizant of the fact that you can't just run around stomping on people all the time. You're going to have to keep that supply line open. You're going to have to support your armies in the field. So I do like it for some reasons, but I also would prefer to keep the old mechanic for other reasons. But it seems like they've long moved past that, and you're probably going to see the mechanic that makes campaigns and offensives flow a lot smoother. So I don't think there's any worry about kind of any regression there.
Personally, I like both. I personally prefer like an implementation of kind of both of them. I want the regeneration system of like Rome 2 and the recruitment system of Medieval 2, because there's one thing I loved about Medieval 2 was it was at the same time it was tedious from a game standpoint, but I personally loved it as for like an immersion standpoint, where you're gonna have to wait a certain amount of turns for like your knights to show up, because you're not gonna get a full stack of knights. You're gonna have to like have like crappy. It was the only Total War that really encouraged army variety, in my opinion. Like, because you simply had to. You couldn't get this full stack of knights because you literally couldn't have, like, you literally couldn't do it because of the turn times. And of course because the Mongols showed up and screwed you over. So and like,
it's always the Mongols.
Yeah,
they're almost as bad as the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, and like so you're trying to do, so you really made you really care for your knights, like your elite units, instead of having like stacks of elite units like you ended up getting in like Rome 2 and to a lesser extent Attila.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it seems I actually do like that idea, and I would like to see them kind of go back and do that, because it seems weird to like recruit like your Praetorian legions out of like some freaking like country hamlet in like the backwoods of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like I feel like units like that should be raised in like a major city. That you're not just gonna like pull them from the countryside and just like
I think
pull them out of
Praetorians though. I think Praetorians in Rome 2 were regulated to Rome, or else it was Praetorian Guard on the other. But yeah, I do. Yeah, that's what I personally hope they do. Is like, I don't think they will, but I hope that they do a mix of both, because I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, and it just makes sense that they would have to go to like one of like the major kind of cities, to be trained and to be armed, because that's where artisans are going to go for work. I mean, you're not going to find like a professional like top quality blacksmith in like some country hamlet somewhere where the only thing he's ever made in his life is like horseshoes or something. Like, for me, that just makes sense, and like from an immersion standpoint, I mean, that's really cool for me. I think that would be the best way to do it, is to strike like that balance where you've kind of got that immersion aspect, but you also, I understand that not everybody likes the old retraining system, so you could have replenishing your troops as you go along. Fine, okay, I'll live with it, but you do have to actually recruit your best troops in a city and that sort of thing, because that's just where the people who could equip and train them are going to be in the first place. So
yeah, I also hope that, one, they don't limit the bloody buildings again, because if there's one thing that really pisses me off about the newer games, I do not like the limiting building slots. It really annoys me.
I mean, it does force you to think strategically about what you want to build in a province, but at the same time, yeah, in like a massive city, you're gonna get expansion as your population increases, and there's gonna be people from all different walks of life that do all kinds of different things. So why would you like you know,
Yeah.
when you're constantly expanding your city, why would you be like, no, sorry, we already have a blacksmith, so we don't want like farmers or something like that? Like it just seems weird to me. I
And
mean, I understand why they do it. I just don't like it.
and also like if I don't want every city to be the same. Like you
Yeah.
know in Medieval 2, like the castles, like you had castles for spamming units, and you had cities for like making your money, and like each city was sort of designed to sort of like do one thing or the other, and it sort of had a bit more differentiation compared to say the way they did Rome 2 and Attila, and to a lesser extent the others, the other Empire and Shogun 2. I think,
Mhm.
but it became really prominent in Rome 2 and Attila though.
Yeah. I mean, like between the two, even in like medieval, you still had to like specialize settlement because you had like if you wanted to build certain things in there, you had to prioritize some things over others. So the end result kind of ends up being the same, but you can still you have the option to like to build like an artist's like studio in your like main military recruitment city and things like that. It just makes the cities themselves feel more kind of like alive, like an actual city, because you're still gonna have like people that aren't in the military that are making a life for themselves, even in like these big cities and in these castles and that kind of thing. It just makes it. I like having the choice. I like having it open to me to make something new. I mean, that for me is just like I would never take away choices from people and make kind of play a certain way, because I feel like that's like almost universally to the detriment of your game. But
Yeah, why limit your options, and why limit the options to the player?
yeah, I mean, there's no reason to really, unless I mean it allows you to like really give strong bonuses to certain buildings. But I would prefer like I role play when I play Total War. I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of people do, and they have a story going on in their head, and you like it's nice to be able to like make whatever you want in whatever city, in accordance with the narrative that you have running internally. So
I try to. I tend to give up though.
around like turn 900, when you're facing down 500 stacks of Mongols, that roleplay goes out the window. But,
Yeah.
it's still nice to have.
Yeah. But yeah, if I was to say, what else? Also, what do you think is going to be? Well, from what they said, it's going to be like expansions, and it's going to be they're going to give you say 3 factions. Like they're going to give the base game, which is 4 factions or races. I think that's the word they used. But they're going to give you the next one is going to be there's going to be say a tree race, like say 3 race expansion, and say if they were Bretonia, Skaven, and I don't know who else, like
Elves or something.
yeah, what else or something. Would you be okay with them doing that?
I think they're going to do it regardless of whether or not I'm okay with it. I'm generally not a fan of paying for a shit ton of DLC. I can kind of like justify it to myself if the game is really good, and if they really like make like in-depth factions and something that's worth paying that money for, or at least feels like it's worth paying that money for, then I can live with it. I think in general that's kind of where a lot of games are heading, is that there's a lot of DLC all the time, and that's just kind of what people expect now.
Yeah, I tell you, fuck that up badly. Oh man, I won't get into that, but like it was bad.
Yeah, they really nickel and dimes you with Rome 2 for everything, which I didn't like, and I hope they don't do that in this.
If they do come out with say faction packs, I won't mind as much as I would in say Rome 2, because with how different the factions are,
Exactly.
have to completely do everything. Like there's very little you can copy and paste with Warhammer here, because like Bretonia, say for example, is going to play completely different to say the Skaven.
Exactly. Like you
That's
can't copy and paste the Skaven. You have to actually do the work. So
yeah, like the Skaven aren't gonna like have like the Skaven aren't gonna fight like the Empire. Like they're gonna be, they're gonna be completely different. Say, and Bretonia obviously would be really different as well.
yeah,
Basically,
that's a good
France
point
on
actually.
steroids. The way I explain Bretonia is this: they're medieval France with the government of North Korea.
That's a good way of putting it.
That's Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely not nice.
No
But
ways
you're
in Warhammer.
right in that, you know, a lot of the factions that you would pay for in Rome 2 or like the unit things were just kind of just like, okay, it's another sword unit and it functions the exact same way as another sword unit does, except that it's just, it's got different stats or whatever. But like, if you're going to add a new faction like the Skaven, I mean, you've got like their massive weapons of war, like the warp fire cannons and things that they can use, or they're like their plague priests and things like that. Like, it's both in terms of mechanics and in terms of aesthetics, it's going to be really different. So you know what? Actually, when you put it that way, I probably wouldn't mind so much paying for the DLCs for the Warhammer game, just as provided that they do
put effort into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just what yeah, say. Like, there's so much to talk about with Warhammer, really, because I just thought of another thing, magic. How the hell are they going to implement that?
I was wondering that. I mean, a
yeah.
few games have managed it in Medieval 2, and it's always been kind of like grafted on there like a third arm sort of thing. Like,
they function like artillery, and that isn't really the way magic works.
Yeah, they function like artillery, and the Empire, like in particular, they have a lot of different schools of magic, and not all of them are like purely offensive in nature. You know what I mean? So how are they gonna? Is it just gonna be like big explosions and they're another artillery unit, or are they gonna have like some kind of passive buff that's interesting in that it doesn't just add stats, or you can have like a wizard inside of a city and it can give them a certain kind of bonus? Are they gonna work like? Are you going to have wizards that are both for the battlefield and then, as agents, kind of like in Napoleon Total War, where, you can put them in at like a university or a city and they confer certain benefits to, say, research or to this or this, that, or the other thing. You know what I mean?
And like they could, there's a lot of ways they can do it, but one way they could do it also is if they do it as basically spies in Rome 2. So instead of having like poison provisions killing like 90% of the army, you can have like a giant a musician throw like a giant fireball at them, and that would make a bit more sense.
Or you could have some kind of debuff that prevents them from moving around. Or if you have navies, you could have I believe they're blue wizards. I can't remember exactly what the school's name is, but they have wizards that are basically dedicated to like reading the stars and that sort of thing. So are you going to have like could they give like a movement bonus or something to a navy because they could use them as a navigator, or could you attach them to like an enemy army that and either deal damage to them directly in the way that in say like a fireball or something like that, or can you have them do something maybe a little more sinister, say I'm not familiar enough with the various schools of magic to like actually come up with a concrete example. But could you have like some kind of ability that's based on the lore of these various schools of magic that each focus on a wind of magic? Could you have them do like some kind of campaign map bonus in addition to like being able to use them on the battlefield or something? I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways they could do magic. It'd be very, very interesting to see how they pull it off, and if there's like if you look at magic as the way, like because obviously there's so many ways they can do it. Hopefully they don't do it the way they did in this game, where they're basically like artillery pieces, which is just stupid. I think personally, I don't think it was implemented that well, but I think it was implemented the way they could have. I respect what they did with the mod, obviously a mod team, but if I'd expect more from the developers. So.
I mean, and it would be cool to see them on the battlefield, and they certainly do figure pretty prominently in the trailer. I mean, one of them like has a meteor fall out of the sky to crush a bunch of greenskins, which is cool. That's hard to balance though, especially with like the morale system, because I could see that being like a massive morale hit. But it'd be nice to see them be, like you say, more than just a blunt instrument, more than just another another catapult that's a little more mobile or something like that. Like it'd be cool if they could do, like if there's the whole debuff system, for example, if you could use certain wizards to get rid of a certain other wizards' abilities or something like that. So say you have, for example, you have some dark elf mage. I know they're not in, the game yet, but let's say you had them and they use some kind of like frost spell to like either deal damage to or to apply some kind of like stat debuff to one of your units. Could you use one of the Empire's fire mages, say, to get rid of that or something like that? I mean, that would be a really cool, very strategic, very like interesting way of making mages kind of important, but also like affecting the outcome of the battle with more than just making things explode. And then at the same time, that makes mages really, really valuable. In that if you have these abilities and they don't have something to counter it with, that's pretty shitty for them. But there's also the balance issue there too. So I don't really know how it's going to turn out, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. I just have a little custom battle and just threw up together while you were talking there.
Oh yeah.
So have people look at that while they're instead of looking at a black screen.
Maybe I'll stream.
Yeah. So. With the way all this is working out, what else I want to say? Talk about DLC, talk about magic.
What about infantry and like cavalry types, and how that's going to work between the various factions, like strengths, weaknesses, that sort of thing?
Yeah, because that's actually interesting, because it's going to be more than just say, what's it say? My brain died. It's going to be different than say the rock paper scissors that we've had in our previous games, where sword beats pike, pike beats cavalry, archers beat everything.
I sincerely hope it's different, because I don't like that, rock paper scissors mechanic.
I'm not surprised they did it, but it's the easiest way to implement it. But I want more, especially with the way everything works in this game, the way everything's going to work in this game. So I hope there's more.
That would be a fun way to do it. I don't really know how, like, what other system they could put in place, but I do know that I really don't like, if I have a sword unit, like a really good sword unit, and I have like a really good spear unit, I don't like already knowing the outcome of that just because of the unit types. It should come down to more than that. Like in Medieval 2, I find that if you have like a really elite sword unit, they tend to be smaller, and you have like a really good spear unit, they tend to be a lot, or like a not so good spear unit, but they tend to be a lot larger, like sort of a middle of the road sort of thing. You can use your greater numbers to surround them and inflict a lot more casualties than you would normally have if you had, like, say, put your guys into a block or something and allowed the spearmen to come at you from or the swordsmen coming at you to get around your sides and start attacking you from like different directions, that sort of thing. I want it to be more like, it would be nice to see these different bonuses. Like, obviously you want to keep, a spear bonus versus cavalry and that sort of thing. And I'd be okay with having the sword, trumps spear bonus, as long as it's not so like just prominent, kind of in your face, to the point where like there's nothing that you can do. How this fight's going to turn out before it already happens, right?
Yeah. And also say, because with the way all these work, it's not going to always work like that, say in the lore, for example. Like an orc infantry unit, so like a unit of orc boys is going to lose to say a unit of like halberds, because
yeah, exactly,
it's not,
regardless of what they're using.
Yeah, and it's not just because they're using crappy swords, and also they're using proper pikes, not like makeshift weapons that the orcs usually use as well. Because that's going to be a thing as well, quality of weapons as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see maybe them expand a little bit on sort of the upgrade sort of thing. I don't really know how they would do that, but like I would definitely hate to see, your elite unit of like, say you've got like a border prince, like mercenary pike unit or something, who are like battle hardened elite. They come up against some orc boys, and just because the orc boys have like shitty little fucking choppas, and these guys have like full plate and big pikes in their hands, it would be a shame if they like took half the unit worth of casualties just because of some rock paper scissors mechanic that's just built into the game that you can't even see. Like that's frustrating. That's annoying, basically. An elite unit should be able to take a shit unit like that on and just like head on if that's what it's going to be, and deal some significant casualties to them, because otherwise, what's the point of them?
Unit of Black Orcs just took two mortar shells and just got up like nothing happened.
That's because Black Orcs are dead hard.
They're like, fuck that.
Yeah, pretty much.
They don't care. Yeah.
But also, just kind of expanding on that a little bit, it would be nice to see things like, well, because the Empire is going to have access to things that, say, the vampire counts aren't. For example, they're going to have artillery, like the dwarves and the Empire. They're going to have access to a lot of artillery, a lot of black powder weapons and things like that. So how is that going to translate into gameplay? Are they going to have like kind of mediocre infantry, but like a serious ranged advantage, that kind of thing, versus say the orcs, who are probably just going to like charge forward in a big green angry wave as they usually do.
Kind of like this. And for the people watching this, kind of like this.
You should activate your Steam so I can actually see what's happening, or not your Steam, your stream.
Oh yeah. How do I do that again? I'll do it in a second when I'm like after I finish this.
I can't remember how to do it anyways, but
I did it before. I just can't remember how to do it.
But like, how's that going to work? Is like orc infantry going to be like, because of their size and because of like their brutish strength, are they going to be able to like smash their way through like a thin line of like the smaller, weaker Empire soldiers, that kind of thing? That would just make that, to me, that would just make sense. Just because given the disparity in strength between the two opponents, that would just be reasonable. But you also have to, you can't make the Empire's infantry worthless, because they do have they have militia, but they also do have hardened professional soldiers that are
like Reichsguard,
their mainstay. Yeah,
like
exactly.
Reichsguard, who are kicking ass right now.
Exactly. So how's that going to work out? That's going to be an interesting thing to see. Like, I really don't know how you could do that. Maybe you could give orcs like a bonus, on the charge or on the offensive or something like that. And that extra kind of like attack is going to translate into having like a slight but not overwhelming advantage.
They're going to kill you on the charge, but eventually you're going to win. So like it's going to be slow and it's going to be bloody, but you're going to win eventually.
Yeah, and I'm from what I've gathered from watching videos and reading articles on the game, is that like the dwarven infantry is going to excel very well at defensive warfare, but when it comes to like being out in the field, they're gonna kind of suffer from the same problems that dwarves do in Third Age, in that they're not very mobile, so it's easy to kind of outmaneuver them. Or once, like if you can sucker their infantry bodies or something like that into a trap, they're not going to be able to retreat, and you're going to be able to, bring cavalry around the flank to attack their artillery pieces, and they're more vulnerable, like the more vulnerable kind of underbelly of that army. That would be a cool way of having to go about dealing with this specific faction who, excels in like a pitched battle where they've got their heavy infantry, and then behind them they've got their artillery that they can use to just decimate you. So yeah, I think that'd be a really cool way of doing it. And then Empire is kind of like more like a balance between the two, because they're very versatile, especially given that they have all these counties that have their different kind of specialties and ways of waging war. And then you have to somehow differentiate the greenskins from the vampire counts, because the vampire counts they use like just hordes of crappy infantry as well, but they've also got like their hardened core of like I can't remember what they're called. They're like blood or something.
Yeah, blood dragons.
Yeah, and things like that. Like, it'll be cool.
And also, getting back to the Empire for a second, if they do the Empire as one faction, I'd hope they'd have as like they have like specific counties, like at least have like some unique units. That's I would hope they do that. If they do if they do as one faction, I'd hope they'd have it as sorry, brain died. As like they have unique
area of recruitment sort of thing.
Yeah, area of recruitment.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I feel like you probably will see that, because they've, like, the last couple Total War titles, like Attila and Rome 2 and all the associated kind of acts, have had a lot of area-specific unit recruitment, that sort of thing. A lot of Unless I'm making a mistake here. It has been a while since I played Rome 2, but I felt like there was a lot of areas where you had to like train specific troops, and then outside of that, they replenished very, 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 very slowly. So yeah, I think you're probably going to see that. I think at this point that's a big part of their Total War series, is that they're going to have these AOR units.
Yeah, I hope they do that, because that would actually be kind of cool.
It would make sense too.
Yeah, that too.
And it does add. It adds a certain amount of difficulty to it, where you get into the same kind of problem where you have to really worry about your supply lines for fresh troops. Like if you have an army that's like entirely provincial, you're not going to be able to really replenish them very effectively outside of that province. So you have to kind of like balance, basically, like say a generic route of troop like halberdmen. Everyone has those, versus something very specific, like say like Ostland hunters or something like that.
Yeah, like Altdorf company, like Altdorf companies of honor, like those.
Yeah, or like Reichsguard or things like that.
Like there'd be generic pike units and then badass pike units. Also, I hope pikes are fixed. Hint, hint.
I haven't played Rome 2 for a while. What is the state of pikes in there right now?
They're still broken. They can't attack. They aren't as broken as they were, but they're very difficult to use.
Right.
And they still have the problem where they can't really attack as well. So you're useless. They're useless in say multiplayer, where like you can't attack on all of them. So I'd hope that gets changed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. If say in multiplayer, for example, if an orc player is playing as against the Empire player, and the orc player attacks, obviously, and the orc, I'd like one, pikes to be fixed, and two, like so the Empire can actually go on the assault. The Empire player, because they'd be mainly pikes, they'd be few swordsmen, but mainly pikeman units. So I'd hope that they're fixed, so they can actually be useful.
I've seen a few multiplayer battles where they're good for like holding. Well, these are mainly siege battles where they're really good for like making like kind of like barriers that it's difficult for your enemy to cross. But as long as they're not nearly as bad as like, I remember that they were like at release where like you run into a pike, you die. So they would just like annihilate a unit.
Kind of true, but not as quick. Like if you attack a pike from the unit from the front, you're going to take a lot of casualties. It's not as bad as say when it first released, where you died in about 20 in like a minute or less. But yeah.
But I think that was most of the stuff that I can think of to talk about for Warhammer 2. Did you want to move on to the Skyrim mods or something like that? It's been a little while since I played Skyrim, but I think I'm fairly familiar with most of the mods.
Yeah, so in case you lived under a rock for the past few, say, I don't remember the exact day, but a couple of weeks ago, Skyrim paid mods launched and died in the same weekend. Basically, they were launched. They were seen as terrible by a lot of people, and they were, but not entirely for most people's reasons. I agree with paid mods in principle, but not in the way they implemented it, because they implemented it pretty terribly. By the way, I'm not changing anything right now. I'm just going to continue with Warhammer because it's easy for me to record. Just so if anyone thinks I'm going to change because we're talking on the topic.
You should have switched over to Skyrim Total War. Come on, what's wrong?
Actually, I think I have that.
I haven't played it.
I think I have it, but I think it would be a lot more editing for me, and I don't want to do that. This is going to be a hell of a long video to upload anyway, so...
But
anyway.
I heard about the whole paid thing, and that Valve just kind of like axed that. But my understanding is that they didn't like that particular iteration of it, but they're gonna continue to tweak it. So paid mods, they're gone for now, but expect to see them in the future, because it doesn't seem like it's something that goes away.
Yeah, I hope they don't do that, but I wouldn't surprise me if they do.
How much? Because I've been kind of like off Steam. I've been thoroughly involved in The Witcher 3 for the last week, so I actually missed this. I only just found out about it a couple days ago. But how exactly did they implement it? Like, what was it? Like, how much was it for a particular mod? Or is that like set by... is that set by Valve or is that set by the content creator or?
It was. You see, one of the weird things is that from what I've explained, what I've gotten from videos. So I'm not paraphrasing a lot here. Basically, what it was is that the person set the price. The modder set the price, but Valve and Bethesda took 75% of the money, and the modders only got 25%, which to me is pretty shitty, to say the least. It's kind of like the way YouTube does it. If it's the only thing I could think of, it's kind of like the way YouTube does money, and does like ad revenue, in terms not in the way they set the prices, but in the way like the modders got the money. It's kind of like the way YouTube does it. It wasn't very good, but and as for prices, some of them were like it was basically a complete mess, because one of the conditions I remember hearing from Bethesda was that they weren't going to curate it, which is basically suicidal. Like, it was pretty much went the way you'd expect with the way they did it, because it just didn't work. Like, you'd have within like not even a day, you'd have like modders coming in like that weren't theirs. You'd have permission problems. You'd have like compilations. Like, what do you do when a patch comes out and the mod breaks? Is basically a complete mess. Like, basically, if you paid for a mod and the mod breaks, you pretty much, all you could really do was just ask politely for the modder to fix it.
That's not good. That's
and like, I don't know what the hell they were expecting it to turn out to do, but good God, it was implemented badly.
Yeah, see, that kind of thing, it reminds me a lot of the fiasco with Diablo 3's Real Money Auction House, where it just turned out to be such a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I remember hearing
and then eventually they just axed the whole project, because it seems like no one is quite sure of how to, like, exactly how they want to regulate this, and exactly, you know, how any sort of regulations that you want to create concerning this have to be worded, and, you know, who gets what, and, you know, at what point, you know, does somebody who, let's say somebody makes a Lord of the Rings mod, right?
And how do you handle that?
Yeah, do they since they're making money off of it now do they owe money to Tolkien's estate? You know, does it have to be like a three-way split between?
Yeah, modders are already in a grey area with that, so honestly, I personally couldn't think of a way they could implement it that handles everything. I mean, like, as you said, like, it's the way Game of Thrones works. With the way, say if someone wanted to make a Game of Thrones mod, good God, do you imagine the bloody, like, imagine, like, you know, there's a cease and desist for the Total War mod. Imagine if they did that for freaking Skyrim, like.
Exactly. The second you involve, you know, money in this, especially when like really popular mods get like hundreds of thousands of downloads. So if you're like,
imagine if the Civil War was bloody money, like, so, you know.
Exactly. So if you make like a really successful mod and it's like $1 every time somebody downloads it, you know, then you make all this money. You make, like, if you're the modder, you make like $25,000 or something, something like that, right? And then, you know, Bethesda and Steam, for whatever reason, Steam gets a huge chunk of this as well, and they split the rest of that money between them. It's just like, it's absurd. And then, you know, you're gonna run into issues where, like, somebody will download this mod and then just fucking host it somewhere else where you can get it for free, because nobody wants to pay, you know, out the ass for
mods. Like, I think people, if the mods are good enough, I think people will. It's just like, it was a lot of there are some cases of basically horse armor from Oblivion. There was basically cases of that. It was basically that. It wasn't implemented right at all, and I hope it doesn't come back, because I couldn't think of a way they could do it right, and I couldn't see them. I don't see how they could pull it off, honestly. And
no, it'll always be a fiasco. The second you get money in there, it just becomes a huge deal. But they're gonna keep trying, because, you know, like I said, it's potentially a lot of money if you're doing it like on a download basis. it ends up being a huge amount of revenue. So of course they're going to try again, but who knows what that's going to look like. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Mm. Yeah, and personally, I'm on the whole paid mods thing. I'm okay with it in principle, but I don't see how they can do it legally. And as well as, you have people stealing other people's stuff, permissions, like imagine permissions if money was involved. I mean, permissions are already kind of insane, so imagine if they'd be like for bloody mods in general, so like with money involved, it would be even worse.
Yeah, it would just honestly, I think that kind of thing would really like bitterly divide the mod community, and it would just you wouldn't see as many collaborative projects and things like that where people take like a whole bunch of mods and put them together, because then you've got to start like paying everybody like royalties and deciding who gets what and that sort of thing. Like it just becomes a huge amount of red tape, not just for the people that are hosting these mods, but for the actual modders themselves, because they have to like figure out amongst themselves who's going to get what piece of the pie. And I think
and also let's think of sorry, you good?
No, that's basically everything that I had to say about it. I just don't know how good that would be.
Sorry. But also let's think of the fact that what if they do say people using other people's stuff, in compilations as well. So that would be a nightmare for money wise as well.
It would just I honestly think that would tear the modding community apart, and that would not be the greatest thing for everybody. Yeah, and then I can think of so many possible scenarios where it's like somebody kind of thinks that this person has used their work, or people start making just like claims on other people's work. It would be like YouTube basically, and then they have to somebody who like deals with these claims, and that's probably going to fall on Bethesda and Steam, who I don't necessarily think are terribly prepared to handle that kind of thing, especially like the sheer volume of that, right?
Definitely not Steam. Have you seen their customer service?
Yeah, absolutely not Steam. It's it's a huge undertaking, and it sounds like they kind of just like this is an
it'll be
experiment.
fine. Kind of
Yeah, and they just kind of rushed it out there, and they're like, yeah, I'm sure it'll all work itself out, right? Everyone will play fair.
Yeah, they tried to have the market sorted out. I think it was one of the words they used. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but that's essentially what they tried to do, I think. So yeah, it wasn't a good idea.
No, and the fact that it was axed in, you said the same week, right?
Yeah, same weekend. Like it was 3 days. Was how long it lasted.
Yeah, 3 days shows just how unprepared they were for this.
Yeah.
So
they just basically threw it out there. Like they needed with the way they put it out. They put out 10 mods that one you could already get for free, and two the ones that weren't were really crappy. Like they weren't like Third Age Total War sort of. Like that's what they really needed to make it worthwhile for people to actually consider, and they didn't do that. Like they had, and also say they had like really crappy mods. Like I think they only gave the modders like 10 months or something to do it, or like 7 months ish to create a mod that would make people want to buy it. And if anyone has any ideas of what modding is, that's not enough time.
No, it's not, and that's part of the reason why mods tend to be like the really good mods tend to be really, really polished and really, really well done, to the point where they actually surpass the games that they're a mod for.
Yeah,
like
they take forever.
Yeah, I mean, how long has Third Age been in development, and they're still coming out with like new submods and stuff for it?
Yeah,
like it's been like what, 10 years since it came out or something like that, something absurd. Extremely long time, and the end product is that you have this amazing game because it's not constrained by budget or development costs and deadlines the same way that the actual titles that they're modding are. So that's I think that's a terrible idea, and that would take away like one of the main strengths of modding, is that you have that flexibility in terms of time, and you don't have to worry about resources in the same way that a studio producing a game does. So yeah, and then you get works of like genuine passion and like serious inspiration, because they've had time to just sit down and refine and just do what they love for the sake of doing what they love. And you know, that's a super romantic ideal of modding. I understand that, and that I do agree with you in principle that, you know, the people that make these amazing creations that keep us playing these games for years should get a piece of the pie. It's just a question of how do you implement that.
Yeah, and it's just it would be a nightmare. It would be a
It's
PR
proved to
nightmare.
be.
Yeah, as it proved to be, it would be a nightmare, and it was not in any way implemented right.
Yeah.
Now, what else do I want to talk about? Ah, yes. Also, yeah, I just thought of it there. Now, let me ask you this: are you a big? Do you watch esports at all?
I've tuned in to some esports. I did watch a little bit of Jaedong's StarCraft back in the day, just because I was like, I don't know, I was trying to figure out if he was actually a human being and not just like an evil robot bent on StarCraft domination. But I would not call me a regular participator in the esports watching scene.
Did you, by any chance, watch the Storm the Dorm presentation on ESPN?
Storm the Dorm? No, I haven't actually. That sounds
no,
interesting.
sorry, Heroes of the Dorm. Sorry.
Heroes of the Dorm.
Yeah, it was a tournament thing that happened in a lot of colleges. That was basically, how do I explain? Okay,
Heroes of the Storm tournament.
It was a Heroes of the Storm tournament done in colleges, and the prize to win it was free tuition in college.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that would be, and need to say, a lot of people went into it. But
whoever said that, like, you know, playing video games would never amount to anything? Come on.
Yeah. But also, what happened with that is, the finals and semifinals, I think, were put on ESPN.
Seriously?
Yeah, on TV, like actual TV, and they were actually done. I didn't watch the broadcast myself, live, because I don't have ESPN. Annoyingly, I did actually look for it. I just couldn't find it, which I was really pissed off about, because I actually wanted to watch it on TV. Because
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, that goes a long way to like making like gaming competitions like seriously like mainstream and legitimate. Because I feel like a lot of people still look. It's a lot better than what it used to be. It's not, you know, just like something that like kind of the male geeky people in your school did on their spare time. I think a lot of people game now in one way or another. Hell, even my mom plays fucking Angry Birds, which is like amazing to me because she's like 60. But I think that's really a really nice step in the right direction to making like kind of gaming culture just more generally accepted, and I like that. Fuck yeah, free tuition. Oh my god,
you'd kill for that. Literally in this video game. But what a lot of people's reactions were very divided, I think, from what I got from Twitter, which obviously it shouldn't be used as a thing to gauge people's opinions, but basically some people's reactions from, say, older people were, this is shit, why the hell is this on ESPN? And one person in particular who was very vocal about his disapproval of this was a guy, I can't remember his full name, but I think his second name was like Cowherd or something, some crappy name like that. He was he's a news anchor or something thing that he talks about sports for ESPN. Basically, he said that insert gaming stereotype. This is ridiculous. Like, why the hell is this on ESPN? Blah 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 blah. If I have to cover this, I will quit my job, which is ridiculous. As why the hell would anyone want to hear someone who knows nothing about what they're talking about talk about this thing? So yeah, that was stupid. And
that's
incredible,
but not really surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, the second, you know, something new and different, something that people aren't used to seeing in any kind of arena, you name it, the sports, music, etc. You know,
movies were considered
movies.
Yeah.
As soon as it, you know, something new and different comes in there, you know, people are going to have really strong opinions about, you know, its legitimacy as, you know, as whatever it happens to be. That's not really art. This isn't really a sport. That's not really food. Whatever, right? Like, it's just people love to say that it's not really this because it doesn't like
It doesn't fit to
it's
what they
their
know.
standards of exactly what they think whatever this thing should be.
Mm.
So that doesn't surprise me in the least. And I'm willing to bet that like the younger crowd was like, "Fuck yeah, that's great! I could watch some Heroes of the Storm."
Yeah, and I think it will take off, like esports in general, simply because the fact that TV licensed TV people want that chunk of that 32 million unique watchers that Twitch had when they put on the what's it called, the League of Legends World Championships. They want a piece of that. So whether that person likes it or not, it's gonna come eventually.
Of course they do. I mean, esports has it's been around for a while and it's got a lot of momentum, and
Now it's gone huge. Like,
it's bigger, not just I mean, it's on ESPN now. It's not just outside. It's just inside Korea where you're a fucking rock star if you can play StarCraft really well or whatever. But
yeah, it's not. I don't think it will ever get as big as in Korea. I don't think it will ever get big as that, because
maybe not for a while.
I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever have the infrastructure for that. I don't think.
Yeah.
I love it, but I don't think we'll ever get that big. Simply because there's so many different. In the West, there's so many different ways of like spending your time, whereas in Korea, I don't think there's that much. There's as many like it, and of course, like Korea is just like perfect for like the way they did it. Like they had like they had the exact thing at the right time.
I mean, yeah, it may not get as big outside, but I still think that because it is actually genuinely entertaining. I mean, like, look at the amount of people that are interested in just watching like YouTube Let's Plays and things like that. I mean, that's a little bit different because that's more of like kind of like a character piece where you're watching it for the personality of the person who's actually making the video, rather than exclusively for the content itself. Although obviously that plays a part. But like, it's genuinely entertaining to see people who are good at video games, especially games like Heroes of the Storm. Well, I haven't played specifically Heroes of the Storm, but it's another MOBA. It's like Dota. And those games actually have like, there's depth to them. It's not just, press button, receive, win. You got to set things up. You've got to strategize. You've got to have a plan going in terms of like what you want to build, for items, even down to like your hero team composition. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it that like you're not just gonna get like the first time watching a game. I mean, like, I get bored watching football sometimes, but that's because I don't have an appreciation of exactly what it takes to be a professional player, and what these people do that make them stand out from the regular person. And somebody who's a football enthusiast is going to look at that and they're going to be like, this is the things that he's doing. I really appreciate that. That's amazing. That's entertaining for me to watch. So I think that it's an unstoppable thing at this point, especially when you keep having games that have the depth that that Dota has, and they're so watchable. It's fun to watch them, and then you throw the commentators into the mix, and it's like watching like Spanish football or something, and they're like, oh, they're freaking out because they pulled off some mad gank, or like Pudge just like hooked somebody from across the map, and like that turned the game around because then they can hunt the other guys down and get like a really good team fight in and set them back all that time and start taking towers and things like that. Like, it's big and it's complicated, and there's a lot to learn and to appreciate. So forget the people that say, oh, what the hell is this shit? It's just, they don't understand what it is and what it what goes into actually playing this game, because they don't have the appreciation of it that say you or I have, because we've played Dota. We know, or we've played Heroes of the Storm, or we've played
StarCraft 2,
Skyrim, or WoW, and we know what these people are doing that's unique, that's special, that makes this worth watching. So yeah.
I hope, I personally, I don't watch like League and Dota 2 personally, but I watch a lot of StarCraft 2. Esports, I watch a lot of it. So like, say if that went to say like on TV, I'd sure as hell watch it, and I think a lot of people will as well, with the way Korea has dominated. I think if we implemented it kind of like the way Korea did it, I think we have a chance of catching up with Korea, but it'll be a hard slog. Let's just say that much.
So I don't really know a whole lot about how esports is organized in Korea. I mean, like I've said, I've only sort of watched some of it sometimes, and what I have watched is outdated. How do they what do they do specifically that you think is like really strong, like a really good way of having an esports?
Well, for one, they actually have I think it's actually government funded as well. Like I think one of the main things is one, it's government funded. Two,
That's a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean that goes a long way to legitimizing it as a sport.
Now this is me like paraphrasing, talking out of my ass. So if I'm wrong, don't hate on me. This is what I remember, and this is me like I could be wrong in this. Don't take it as Bible fact.
I would know anyway, so talk away, Ace Ventura.
This is for anyone else, but like for people watching it. But if let's say basically the way they do it is they have team houses, which is kind of like training camp, like team houses, which are kind of like the training pitches, I guess, of normal football teams, or by that I mean European football, not American football.
Normal football.
Yeah, normal football, like the proper football, not the hand egg.
You're definitely from Europe, I can tell.
Hand egg. That's what I call it, hand egg. But anyway, say there's proper like infrastructure set in stone for esports, because esports is treated as, say, American football over there, as like it's treated as, they're treated as like celebrities from like over there. So it'll be, I don't see us catching up at least a few, I'd say 10 years, I'd say at the least, to catch up on that. And like I mean like we barely have any foreign players as well. Like foreign players just aren't as good, and by foreign I mean anyone who's not Korean. But that's what I mean by when I say foreign. I don't mean like non-European people or anything. I mean anyone who's not Korean. So if like there's no one, like if you look at tournaments right now, it's all Koreans and a few very, very good foreigners.
Well, that makes total sense, because like you said, they have government funding for one. That's a lot of legitimacy. Yeah, and that's like
they don't
people
have
actually behind it.
Yeah, and they don't have to worry about anything like say money, or like they don't have to worry about their jobs. They can completely where they're going to sleep or where they're going to eat. Like so that can really help them focus on their game. And
that's a big deal, and I think a lot of that comes from just kind of the way that we look at and the way that we react to people that play video games professionally. We look at them. Let's be honest. We look at them here like losers, like people that are wasting their time because they don't have what we would value as skills. You know what I mean? Like they're not doctors, they're not lawyers, they're not this, that, or the other thing. Even though they have interests and they have things that they indulge that's probably outside of gaming. We don't like afford them the same kind of legitimacy and support. So it makes sense that like it's not just like a stereotype of like, oh, the Koreans are just good because they're Korean. No, the Koreans are good because they have sports, or they have the support, and they have the time to actually get really, really good at this game, because they don't have the same kind of like stigma and that sort of thing, and they're government funded. Like that's just
I could be wrong on that though, just to be sure. But I'm pretty sure they are with how big it is. Like they pack out like 20,000 people stadiums, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's not government funded.
I mean, it's like it would be like the Canadian women's hockey team where they like went in and stomped everybody. It's not because everybody was shitty. It's because they don't receive the same kind of support that the Canadian American women's teams did. Like it's just it's not about stereotyping. It's just about sort of the reality over in that home
Koreans are awesome.
Yeah, exactly, and how much
they're just that damn good
to them. So the fact that like tournaments are filled with people from these countries that give that kind of support and funding and legitimacy to esports, that doesn't surprise me in the least. That they're really good. It's like putting two kids in a room and having them do a math competition where the one kid only made it up to grade 6 because his family couldn't afford schooling after that, and the other person has like a high school diploma. It's obviously that one person is going to win, and it has nothing to do with how smart the two of them are.
Sorry.
Were you recording that?
Yeah. I hope it didn't. I hope it didn't come through.
Oh no, it came through. You may have to edit that out.
I'd probably leave it in just for comedy factor.
But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. And yeah, that makes total sense to me. And I would love to see esports get that kind of momentum in this, in the West and things like that it has, you know, in Korea and other countries, is just because video games are awesome. And I fully support, you know, the whole video games are art kind of thing, especially after playing The Witcher 3. Like, holy crap, is that good? But I would love to see, you know, gaming and gaming culture get that kind of like mainstream support, because for you and for me and for everybody else that grew up with them, that's a big part of our lives. I mean, it's something, especially, you know, you and me, we make videos about video games. People watch us playing video games because we're all passionate about it, and it's, you know, it's an important part of our lives, and we love to just, you know, sit down and kind of lose ourselves in a game and just, you know, talk about it, and it's fun. You can be yourself and you just really enjoy it. And I would love to see, you know, not just esports, but just gaming culture in general get that kind of legitimacy where people just stop looking at you like you're a useless layabout, you know, that will never do anything with their lives because, you know, you sit down in front of your computer and you play these games that obviously, you know, you have nothing of value to add to anything. You have nothing to say, that sort of thing. So I think, yeah, I would really like to see that happen for people, you know, in the countries that we live in.
Yeah, I'd also love for people to consider competitive gaming or esports, whatever you want to call it, as a sport. Because personally, have you ever watched someone play StarCraft at a high level? Yeah,
oh my God.
It's a sport.
It's staggering.
Like the way they move their hands is like insane. Like
the clicks per second, like it's actually genuinely, it's like it's a mental feat. Okay, yeah. They're not lifting 500 pounds, but put them in a room with like somebody who, you know, is an Olympic athlete, and, you know, they will, if it comes down to like testing, you know, their ability to micromanage and their ability to think quickly and to improvise, holy crap, that's impressive. These people can do something amazing.
Like, yeah, like say take StarCraft 2 for example. You have to like manage your base, manage your economy, and yet still micro your units, like to take great fights and take great battles to win. That's really hard to do. Trust me, I've tried.
All with limited resources. I mean, yeah. Minerals and Vespene gas are not unlimited. There's a lot of them, yeah. But you can run out. And when you run out and you're not in a position to expand, or you don't have the resources to expand because you didn't, you know, balance your economy and like troop production and things like that, or you're just really in a bad space because you're getting pushed hard by your enemies, you know, make some hard decisions that really make or break the game for you. So it's like
you have to manage so much stuff and so quickly as well. Like you have to do it in like split-second decisions, like as quick as you can, because like that's how quick it can be. And so I think as well as if you did like you have to manage so much stuff so quickly, like with any game really at such a competitive level. It's definitely a sport if you just take, like it's not a traditional sport obviously, but it's definitely a sport, I think.
Yeah, and you know, it's not what we conceive of as a sport. It's different in the same way that, you know, having the Heroes of the Storm tournament on ESPN really pissed people off because, you know, that's not what we put on here. That's not us.
And to that I say, and also to people who say that, I say, you put poker on ESPN. That's not a sport. I would consider like that's as if you can consider poker as a sport, you can consider esports as a sport.
Poker's a very good example because, like, you know, playing complicated like team game like say Dota or Heroes of the Storm, playing poker is more than just, you know, laying down cards and hoping for the best. There's some serious, you know, cognitive skill that goes into playing poker. Like someone I play Settlers of Catan with, and who I never want to play poker with, he's a card counter, and that's extremely impressive to me. Like when it comes down to like the trading portion of this game, he's like, "You want to give me some of that wheat you got?" And I'm like, looking down at my cards, look up at him. Fuck you. How do you know this? It's because he's been paying attention. There's,
Yeah.
you're running probability in your head about, what you're going to get. What's the chance of doing this? What move should I make in this situation when you're playing poker? In the same way that when you're playing Dota, you're trying to figure out, what the enemy strategy is going to be based on the heroes that they pick, and what strategies that work with those heroes in terms of item builds, in terms of skill builds, and then how they synergize with other players. And you have to think of ways to counter that, and you have to pick your heroes accordingly. You have to pick your items accordingly. I mean, you're not going to get like a Black King bar or something like that in a game that doesn't have a lot of like magic or disables. No, even if it's the recommended item for that class because it has like strength or whatever. Like you have to think strategically in video games in the same way that you do in poker, in the same way that you do in soccer. You're just going about it in different ways. In one case, you're sitting at a desk and you're clicking, and it's more cognitive. And then you've got the like soccer or something where you're still trying to think and you're still trying to work with your team, but you're also running around in a field. And for whatever reason, we have more respect for that because we have more respect for like physical achievements and like being in shape and that sort of thing. So it's just like the perceptions that we have of the people that do these things is kind of like what influences basically our how legitimate we think something like playing video games is. And most a lot of the time that's just based on like stereotypes and just not necessarily reflects reality. So
Yeah, and I mean, if you've ever watched like a pro gamer stream, they are definitely very fit. Like trying to move their hands that quickly and like focus on everything else is honestly it's not only I'd say stressful, but I'd say very tiring. Like
it's definitely tiring.
Like I've tried to play StarCraft, and I can't even barely like win one online game, let alone like I can't manage. I simply just can't manage anything like that, like as quickly as I need to. So, like it's not easy. Like
No, it's not.
and I think one great help that will help with this is not only do say we appreciate it, like talking about it is, athletes also came out and said, yeah, this is really cool, like because athletes are gamers as well. That's how big gamers have become now.
Yeah,
Like, how
I mean,
mainstream games have become.
a lot of people do it. Like I said, even my 6-year-old mom plays games. But
6-year-old mom.
60. My 6-year-old mom. Yeah, don't even ask how that works. No, she's like in her 60s, and she plays Angry Birds, or she plays all the little like games and stuff on her iPad. A lot of people play games, but for whatever reason, we're not willing to We still look at it as simply just like an entertainment or a toy. We wouldn't like call somebody that plays with GI Joes for a living an athlete. So why would we call somebody who plays video games an athlete or something like that? But or, somebody who participates in a sport, because we think of sports as something to be physical, I think, largely, and then everything else outside of that is just gray area. It's just its own thing. It's just games. You can be good at games, but we wouldn't we wouldn't afford you the same kind of like respect and deference that we would to an Olympic athlete or something.
Yeah, and also chess is a Olympic sport. So
is chess an Olympic sport?
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
then why the hell isn't gaming an Olympic sport?
Yeah,
like why
no,
the hell isn't like Dota or I don't know, Total War? Total War I could see being a serious sport, although to a lesser extent because it's really like stat based. But things like Warcraft, like World of Warcraft. Especially in its like arena heyday, like how could that not be considered an esport when there's so much depth to it? There's a lot of stuff that you need to understand and know how to do.
Well, I've never played Warcraft, so is that like is that like competitive, or would that get very competitive? Or
I think it's less competitive now. It did get removed from the esports circuit, so it's not even like a legitimate esport anymore. But for a long time, especially kind of earlier 2000s, probably around 2002 to 2005, I think it was a really big esport. I can't remember exactly when it was removed from the circuit, but shortly after the Burning Crusade, the first expansion came out, like the arena really blew up, and then the expansion after that, it was a huge deal because there's so much depth to it, or there was in any case, not so much anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you can take esports in so many different ways. It all matters. It all matters in like it's esports blowing up is a matter of when, not if. Like so, it all matters.
Yeah, exactly.
So if people aren't comfortable with it, get comfortable with it because it's gonna happen whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
And it going on, like normal TV shows on TV, it's gonna happen. Like eventually, it just a matter of when because people want that money. Because 32 million viewers. I think most TV channels would kill for that.
Yeah, and because it has 32 million views, because this is something people are interested in watching, especially the younger generations who play more and more games. Like, you can't deny it. It is inexorable as time that esports is going to become a big thing. It's just you're right, exactly. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I hope it's soon. I hope I get to enjoy it. I hope I'm not like 55 and everyone looks at me like I'm a weird square because I like to play video games or something. I don't know.
No, I think it'll be. I'd say give it a few years, or not even. I'd say maybe a year and a half. I'd say esports would be on every TV show. I'd say, or at least most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's popular. People watch it. Like they clearly watched it. So I think the future for esports is going to be bright, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch.
Absolutely.
To see how it all develops.
And I look forward to watching it. I mean, I'm passionate about the idea of esports. I don't watch a lot of esports, but I feel like that's something that I could really easily get into, is watching that and really enjoying that.
Like I personally watch quite a bit of it, but mainly StarCraft. Though I don't watch Dota or what's it name? What's it? League of Legends. I don't personally watch them, but like I definitely get down to, like, if I was interested in it, I'd love to see it on TV because bigger screen.
Yeah, and the same thing for me is like I watch a lot of Total War videos. I like to watch the strategy, and I like to watch people that are good at it, and hear what their thought process is. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think there's an industry to be created there. There kind of already is.
Yeah, called Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch.
And to a lesser extent YouTube, but Twitch definitely. I mean, geez, Twitch is insane at some points. Like with the amount of people they have.
I would love to get on Twitch. I just I don't post enough videos. I like to keep it as part of my free time, not just a career. But yeah.
Would you, if you could, would you like to have that as a career?
I would honestly. I think I would have more fun discussing games and discussing where I think the industry is going, or where what I think could be done with a particular series or a particular genre, than I would actually playing games for a living. Although of course I'm still going to play them. But
you'd be like a journalist.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess journalism, it's something I would never have considered actually calling it journalism, but I guess it kind of is in a way, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be, that's probably the way I do it, because I'd never be good enough to be at any kind of way like that. But yeah, I personally can't wait to see where esports goes, and yeah, can't wait for BlizzCon.
All right, so what else did you want to move on to? It was esports, it was Skyrim, and Warhammer, which we have all talked about to death. Do you have any releases or any games that you've been playing recently that you really enjoyed? And why? What is it that exactly that draws you to these titles?
Oh, I need to look at my library.
Open my library. Oh, there's that many, is there?
No, I just need to remember. Well, I've been playing mainly a lot of Total War lately because I just suddenly had no to play a lot of the mods. I was playing God damn it, this game. Why does this
it happens.
Yeah, why does this keep breaking?
Probably has something to do with like missing animations or missing textures. That's usually what it tends to be with Med 2, I find, but
stupid. But anyway, what were you talking about? You were talking about games, so I'll let you go
Yes,
first.
games you're interested in.
Yeah, I'll let you talk first because I have to think.
Oh God, we're gonna be here for another 2 hours. So for me, it's been The Witcher 3, which I think is an absolute fucking monument to the ideal of games can be art, because it's so good and it's so polished and it's so the word that comes to mind is captivating. Like, I've been glued to my screen. I have like legitimately skipped a number of meals because I've just forgotten to eat because it's that good. It's so good, and it just pulls you right in, and it doesn't let go. Things specifically, the gameplay itself, when it comes to like the sword fighting, is all right. When you first start out and you don't have many skill points, it can be a little repetitive. Although the signs are generally like very useful and very enemy specific. Like, for example, you've got a sign, it's called Irden, that is like a magical sort of like ring, and when you're fighting ghosts or foglets and things like that, things that, you know, can disappear and turn into fog or go incorporeal and things like that, the second they step inside that circle, they're vulnerable and you can start hitting them, which I think is a really cool mechanic, because then you've got to think about, you know, when you use it and how you use it, which is, I think, really cool. And then you've got kind of like more like straightforward, like the Arden Igni signs, like one's like a telekinetic kind of like push where you can knock people over and then finish them off while they're on the ground. The other one just, you know, it's Igni, it shoots fire. Okay, that's what it does. Quen is a shield, and when you upgrade these later, you know, the abilities get more interesting. Like, you can use Quen as like a bubble shield, like that heals you, so you can use it against incoming damage and things like that until it's broken, in which case it explodes, which is really cool. But you don't have access to a lot of that stuff, and there are a lot of just like kind of like passive bonuses and things like that that just upgrade your sword abilities rather than giving you new ones. That said, I have not unlocked nearly... I haven't even unlocked half the abilities because I've been like spreading my points out. And that's the other thing I didn't like as much, is that it's hard to get points and they're very precious. So you can't, unless you like really invest heavily in one tree or in one specific aspect of gameplay, you're not going to unlock all these other really cool, really dynamic and fun aspects of it.
So it's the very roleplay. Like, it's very roleplay. Would you say?
Yes, it's very much like that. So and
you can really go to your specific playstyle.
Yes, unfortunately, at the same time, you know, yes, you can play to a specific playstyle, but you're also playing to a specific playstyle to the exclusion of all of the other cool things. I mean, you still have access to your signs, but you don't get the cool...
You can't be a real hybrid. Like a hybrid, you can't be like a knight who's sneaky or something.
Yeah, I found it very difficult to play as a hybrid, which is what I am right now. But I'm getting through the game fine, so you can play however you want. Like, I'm just like fumbling around in the dark. It's my first playthrough. You know, I've fucked up a lot, and I'm still managing to get through the game, you know, without too much difficulty. So the gameplay is good. It does get a little repetitive, but for me, that's not the big part of The Witcher. The big part of The Witcher is the story and the choices that you get to make, and the dialogue, which is wonderful and actually, you know, done by writers instead of, you know, shanghaiing the level design guy, you know, having him write witty banter that he's, you know, or something like that he's never done before. It's well written, it's funny, it's emotional, it's got depth. Characters react in ways that, you know, you would expect people to, and it all comes off as like a very genuine reaction between all of these different personalities. And there's so many good larger than life characters. He's got a buddy of his named Zoltan, who is just, the guy is just so crass and so blunt and so hilarious. He's this little dwarf guy, and he's got like the greatest turns of phrase. You run into this one priest guy while you're doing an investigation. He's not a priest, he's a doctor, but it turns out that, you know, he's basically fucking Van Helsing. Like, he can throw down, he's got a crossbow, and, you know, he doesn't give you a choice when it comes to, you know, hunting down, you know, a murderer. You're not just fighting monsters, you're fighting... Well, there's the one trailer for it, which is, you know, called Killing Monsters, where you see a single monster, you just kill a bunch of, like, really fucking awful, amoral bastards. Just people. Just regular old people. So you see a lot of different sides of a lot of different, like, kind of aspects of humanity. Like, you see people that do that make, you know, like heartbreaking sacrifices for, you know, for the things that they believe in, for the people that they care about. And the other side of that, you see, you know, people being really selfish and really
the way a medieval society is, like, everyone's a scumbag.
No, everyone isn't a scumbag, though. That's the thing. It's more than that. It's more than just, you know, people are this way or people are that way. It's very Game of Thrones-ish in that everyone tends to fall between, you know, a spectrum on the shade of gray scale, right?
Yeah, like they are
All
good
50.
people, but they do bad things. They aren't perfect.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, except maybe Triss Marigold, who, no, she does some pretty imperfect stuff, but like, she's genuinely a good character. She's one of your love interests in the story, and she's a recurring character from the series. It's also based on
She the
a
red-haired
series.
girl.
Yeah, she's the red-haired girl,
Okay, yeah.
and I'm pretty sure she's a fan favorite because she's such a sweetheart.
And,
But
you know,
like, you get a sense of them as like actual characters instead of just like cardboard cutouts. So that for me is what has kept me going forward in the game. The combat and, you know, all that other stuff is cool, and there's some really amazing missions and stuff that you go on, but for me it's the story. It's 100% the story that, you know, makes The Witcher as good as it is. And on that note, that's where you bring in the soundtrack for The Witcher. Holy fucking shit. I can think of maybe 3 games in the entirety of like my playing of games, which has been a very long, and I wouldn't say illustrious, no one would ever agree with me on that, but I've played a lot of games. And 3 of them stand out in particular. One is the first Dead Rising that Capcom did, which was, the soundtrack for that was just wonderful, just like tailored to, you know, the situations in that. The second is Bayonetta, because it's the soundtrack reflects the game really well.
And
the game is just Bayonetta is really good. The first one, I haven't played the second one yet, but
have you played the Wii U version?
No, that's the second one. I haven't played it. I don't have a Wii U, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
I heard that's supposed to be great.
If it's Bayonetta and they stay true to the original, then I'm sure it's wonderful.
Yeah, it was made by what's it called? It was made by, what the hell do they call themselves again? Platinum. So it's apparently Platinum are like automatically awesome. So
are they? What other games have they made?
I can't think of any of them offhand, but basically any game they've made is pretty amazing.
But like the soundtrack for that was really well done. I love that they like appropriated like Fly Me to the Moon and they like did something new with it, which was really cool. But it was fast paced and it was like frenetic and it was awesome and it just fits so well with the tone of the game. And then you've got The Witcher 3 at the top of that list, which, oh my god, I have not heard a single song on there that I did not enjoy, that I thought was out of place in the way that they used it. But my two favorites, and I don't know if you've seen this one yet, but if you haven't, you should look it up, is the little ballad. The song itself is called The Wolven Storm, which I believe is from the book series that The Witcher is based off of.
Witcher's based on a book series?
Yeah, it's based on a book series written by a Polish guy. I can't remember his first name, but I believe his last name is Stropowski.
Didn't know that. Well, you know.
But so the original version is written obviously in Polish, which I've listened to and I really enjoyed.
In Polish?
Yep. I don't speak Polish, but I just enjoy it for other reasons. But it's called The Wolven Storm, and it's sung by a character named Priscilla, or Kalinetta. It's just her stage name, and it's amazing. It is so good. It tugs at my heartstrings every time. And the second is the song that they did for the Ladies of the Wood, who are a bunch of like swamp hags, and they have an amazing quest line that runs around with them. Like it's every creepy fairy tale story about like witches in the bog, and it's just like it's so good. It's so good, and it all comes together so well. And you meet the witches several times throughout the game. But yeah, the song that they have is like it's done with I'm pretty sure it's a violin, although it could be a cello. But it's really good and just works so well for the atmosphere that they create for these witches and for this area. So The Witcher is. I will be sorely disappointed if it does not become Game of the Year, because it is the most solid release, and there's so much to do, and it's got such good replay value that I don't think I'll be finished with it for months.
How was the performance for it? Because I heard that that's been a bit dodgy.
I've had some chugging a little bit when like a lot of stuff is going on. There's one area where you have a big battle with the wild hunt without saying too much. There was a lot of people coming in and out, and people dying and people exploding. But for the most part, I played on Xbox One, so I don't know. Maybe PS4 players their mileage will vary, but I found it to be really it runs smooth for the most part. Unless there's a whole bunch of shit going on at once, which usually there's not too much. But yeah.
Yeah, because I heard people, especially on PC, the performance was a bit dodgy.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The Witcher 2 is older and it doesn't run very well on my PC, and my PC well exceeds the requirements for it. I played on console, so I don't have the same problems, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's not always very well optimized for PS or for PC. That is definitely a problem that CD Projekt Red has had in the past. So yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else to say about it without going into spoiler territory? No.
That's everything. How about you? Is there any particular games that have come out recently that you're really just hooked on?
Not came out recently because I haven't had the money, because I'm broke. But offhand, one game that I'm dying to play but I don't have money, I think I'll buy later, is Call of Juarez Gunslinger. It's been out for ages, but oh man, it looks so fun.
I've never played it, and this is the first time I've heard of it. It was something's Gunslinger?
Yeah, Call of Juarez Gunslinger.
Oh, Call of Juarez. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically this Wild West action game.
Yeah.
And oh man, I've only saw trailers for it, but it looks so much fun. It looks like gas, because you can go around with dual, Wild West dual, six shooters,
yeah.
And it looks so much fun. Yeah, if you're gonna get a game just to sink a few hours into, and just for the story alone, because apparently the story is supposed to be very, very good.
Huh.
It's really good. I haven't played it yet, but it looks so much fun, and just from the videos I saw, it looks great. But as for other games, I've been playing. Have you ever played the Divide and Impair mod for Rome 2?
I might have dabbled with it at one point, but.
Well, I've been playing a lot of it recently, and I've been playing a campaign with Egypt, and I have to say, if you've felt that the combat in Rome 2, or generally how the campaign played in Rome 2, felt off, it just didn't feel right, Divide and Pair is probably the mod for you. It just, for me, I sunk probably 20 hours into a campaign, and it goes a lot slower, so if you don't like slow campaigns, I wouldn't really recommend it. But if you do like slow campaigns, you like taking your time, sort of role playing a bit, I think you'll enjoy it a lot more than say Rome 2 was, where it's basically, Rome 2 was could at times be very, very easy. So yeah.
Well, one of my favorite games is Medieval 2, so I'm more than comfortable with a very slow start campaign. It sounds worth giving it a shot. I'm so not a fan of Rome 2. Just it's fundamentally I don't like it. Just the engine, I really don't like the way that it plays. But
do you want to rant about it for a bit?
No, I feel like everything that I could possibly say has been said 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think what else I play. I've been playing a bit of Dawn of War 2 again, and I keep jumping back into this campaign every so often, and I keep thinking about it because I'm like, I like this. Why do I keep stopping? Because
Who do you play as?
It's the second one, so I've just been playing the campaign,
Oh, okay.
the campaigns. So I've been playing, and I've been thinking to myself, I keep coming back to this, and I keep going away for a while, and I keep trying to think of why. And I think the main reason, one, because it can be at times very difficult. like especially at some times where like the units just for some reason just start getting really really hard to kill, like like because I keep getting like say I think one mission I was trying to do was you had to kill like this elf witch. I think it was just like the main mission against the Eldar, and
Hmm.
you like had to and like all of a sudden like where I do pretty well against them, all of a sudden I'm getting my ass kicked very very quickly and very very easily. Now obviously I was playing pretty badly honestly, I will admit, but it felt like all of a sudden there was a difficulty spike, and maybe I just went in under leveled, but it felt like for the level I was at, like for the point I was at, like it just felt like it was such I was so heavily outclassed. I felt like this just feels weird, and I just didn't play it. Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
especially when you're a space marine and like
yeah, like I didn't feel like a
canonically.
badass, like, which
Yeah,
is
you don't
what you
feel like the
expected.
kind of person that just like ends worlds with like get two of them on a planet and they'll conquer it sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
that's
kind of what like Space Marines are all about. So
yeah, it's like that in all the Warhammer games though, because like in the canon they're so built up, and then when you actually like play like the tabletop or the video games, you know they have to be average, otherwise they would just run over everybody all the time.
yeah, I don't blame it, but I
Yeah,
just felt annoying. I felt a bit, just feels weird, and I'm not even that big into Warhammer anyway. Like,
it's
so
yeah, it's definitely tough, especially on the higher difficulties. Usually I just play through it through the story, so I'll play on like just regular like easy. I've never really done it on like super hard.
I just did it on normal, and like I'm just getting my ass kicked, so it's like it was really annoying. I was just like, damn it. So I keep coming back to it every so often, like just to try and keep going, try and beat it. But yeah, damn you, Tyranids.
So you're playing the first one, then you're not playing any of the
Yeah,
DLCs.
I have the others, which I'll probably get into eventually, like after I play it and complete it, and then move on to the others eventually.
Mhm.
But yeah, if also I meant to ask you this question: if you were interested in learning about Warhammer, like say books, what ones would you recommend?
Books. I don't have many of the actual novels. I could. Well, okay. For one, it depends on which Warhammer you're looking at. Are you looking at fantasy or are you looking at 40k?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, like
Um,
either. I'll probably jump at the either. I'll probably jump at the both.
I haven't read them personally, but a friend of mine really enjoys a lot of the Space Marine omnibuses. I think he's read like Night Lord stories or the Ultramarines omnibus, which is it's like a collection of stories basically involving that particular like chapter. I got him for Christmas. I got him a couple books on the Blood Angels and things like that. But for the most part, I read. I have some of the role playing books, and I read a lot of like Wikipedia pages and things like that for Warhammer. I play the tabletop as well, so I get into discussions about lore and I learn new things with people when I play that. And I have the codexes for the armies that I play and things like that. So for the most part, I haven't actually read a lot of their short stories and things like that. Although I am familiar with a lot of the stuff that happens in the stories in terms of the events, because I've looked them up because it's an area of interest, but I've never actually read them for myself. But if you're interested specifically in like sort of a general overview of the 40k universe or the fantasy universe, or whatever, I would start at square one with like the Wikipedia page, and then you just move from there, and then you start looking at where they're getting their sources from for that page, and then you run across a book and you think hey, maybe that book interests me, and then you start with that, and you just kind of go from there. And there's a lot of stuff to consume, so it can be maybe a little bit intimidating. But I would definitely start just like, you don't have to play the games because the tabletop is expensive and things like that. But like just show up and talk to people and ask people about things. And like, everybody that plays the game is usually pretty knowledgeable about the backstory, at least for their specific army, if not for others. Usually for others. So yeah, just there's a lot of Warhammer stuff out there. You don't necessarily have to get the books. I never read them, for most of them myself, except for the books that I bought for my friend. I had to read them to make sure they were good. That's what I tell myself. But yeah, for the most part, I just started with like just wiki pages, and then I just went from there.
Yeah, because I'd say I'd be more interested in fantasy personally, just because I like ancient world, like you know, the like swords and shields sort of thing over guns. I don't know why for some
Well,
reason
there are
that seems more
guns in
poetic for
fantasy.
me. Yeah, I know, but like less, like more, you know, instead of like one guy kicking the crap out of like thousands of things, like you
Yeah,
know,
or like destroying a planet with
yeah,
cyclonic torpedoes or something.
yeah, I like more like you know, sword and shield sort of things, which
Mhm.
I think is weirdly more poetic. I don't know why. I don't know why I do. Maybe I'm secretly a French bird, a medieval French person.
But no, that's fair enough because the Warhammer, the fantasy universe is pretty interesting, and you do have a lot of like cool. You're right. It's not as like massive in scale
Hmm.
as the other one. Like it's not like planetary sort of
Yeah,
conflicts.
it's
It's
not
like
space.
yeah, exactly. So you get like kind of smaller, interesting like stories. Like if you ever played like Mordheim or something like that, where it's like you're taking a group into like some city and you're like there's a little story that goes on around that or something like that. Yeah, it's a lot. You're not like killing things with a spear that's empowered with the heart of a dying sun.
Hmm.
So it's a lot more traditional fantasy
Yeah,
and kind of like easier to swallow, I guess.
yeah. Like with Warhammer, what I've noticed of from little I've read it, I think I have a Warhammer book in my house actually somewhere. I have to look it up. I have to dig for it. But what I've guessed from Warhammer is that you have to shut your brain off while reading it. Is essentially what I've learned.
You
Is
do. Don't question too many of the concepts because some of
yeah,
them are just like, okay, this sounds cool. Let's do that.
yeah. Without yeah, so that's one of the things that I've found that I should definitely do if I was going to read it. But yeah,
And
yeah.
that said, some of them are better than others. I mean, there's lots of people that write Warhammer stuff that, Games Workshop commissions to do a story or to do this. And they all have their own way of representing it, so it's not always awful.
If you're interested in fantasy, I recommend not reading the End Time series, because apparently everyone considers that outer shit.
Oh, that's with like Archaon and stuff like that.
I'm not sure, but I haven't actually looked at it at all. But basically, those books are pretty shit. Like that entire series is considered absolute crap, because basically
Absolute
chaos
crap.
wins. Basically, chaos wins and everything dies. Is essentially what
Well,
happens.
I guess that's the end times,
Yeah,
Archaon.
that happens. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about Warhammer is that it's stuck in a state of perpetual apocalypse.
I know. Yeah, you think have like bright spots, but it really doesn't. It's rather depressing.
It's always like, oh, the world is ending, and then the world's basically been ending for the last like 30 years.
Yeah. You think like do you think the evil guys would get on with it?
No, apparently not. They're just taking their time.
Yeah. Like if when I look at say Warhammer, like everyone, especially 40k, it seems like everything just wants to kill each other.
Yep.
It's pretty much the way you describe Warhammer in one sentence. Is like everything wants to kill each other. Like there's no real good guys in it, is from what I've seen, except maybe the Tau.
They're not good though. They're evil space communists that tend to like sterilize and do terrible things to people that
Disagree with them.
yeah, they're evil space communists. They like to think that they have a gentle hand, but there's something sinister going on with the ethereals, things like that. But they're not so bad. And the the Imperium is just shit. They're just horrible and repressive, and it's awful. Yeah,
They're like if North Korea had Space Empire.
yeah, basically.
I
And
mean, literally. At some points, like I consider the Emperor like to be kind of like what people consider what North Korean people think whatever the hell their name of their leader is.
the Emperor's okay. He definitely wouldn't like the state of the Imperium as it is, especially with all the religiosity running around, because he was like the imperial truth to him is it's basically like super hardcore atheism, except that there are no gods or die.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not your dad's atheism. It's like hardcore, like militant atheism.
Yeah, everyone's a part of the Spanish Inquisition in space.
Pretty much, that's what they are.
And the way
Actually,
they get rid of heresy is to exterminate power plants.
yeah, the Inquisition is pretty heavy-handed that way. I'm actually doing a roleplay campaign with the Inquisition, and yeah, it might just end in an exterminatus. We haven't quite decided, where we want it to go yet, but
What's roleplay?
It's basically just Dungeons and Dragons with a Warhammer bent to it.
Hmm.
So I'm DMing a campaign with a friend of mine. We're actually doing it over Skype, and because he lives on the other side of the country, so it's pretty good. It's been like we're an inquisitorial task force going on to a heretic planet, and then it involves Eldar because he doesn't want to kill space elves, and there's chaos. And so in some way it ends up bringing in like all the various like Inquisitor Ordos, like the big ones anyway, like the Ordo Xenos, Ordo Hereticus, and Ordo Malleus and things like that, because chaos plus aliens plus heretics equals collaboration.
Mm. Yeah, okay, so I think we have rambled on enough for, I don't know how long this has been.
That's been a solid 2 hours almost.
Probably, yeah.
Something close to that.
Yeah, I think I've run out of stuff to talk about, so if you have enjoyed this video, please like it and all that stuff, and if you want to see more of it, please comment and tell us. We might do this eventually when our schedules align again.
And the stars align.
Yeah, because that's basically how long it took. I think I asked you about this like a month ago.
Yeah, kind of. Stuff happens.
And then school happened.
And now I'm done school, so I'm.
So am I. Woohoo!
I've graduated, so I don't have to go back. Hooray!
Yay! Screw school.
But yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for talking with me. It was actually pretty interesting. You brought out some pretty passionate subjects, so yeah, I think that was pretty awesome. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, you should leave a like, because then there will be more, and then you can like more things, and the cycle will continue. Yes. So yeah, thanks for having me.
One last thing, do you want to talk about your channel, or is that dead?
It's not dead. I'm still working on it. If anyone is still interested, I do have a channel, and I do talk about a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff. Not so much the stuff we've been talking about here, but there's a lot of Lord of the Rings. There's actually some Warhammer fantasy battles that go on, where there's like historical battle series and things like that, where we do mostly it's Lord of the Rings, but we have been dabbling a little bit in Warhammer. You can see some more Skyrim, Mountain Blade, and things like that. So if you want to put a link in the description to my channel, that would be awesome, and everyone who's interested can go and check it out.
I'm sure it will. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking out that historical battle series, because that's actually very interesting.
It's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it. Actually, I'm on my way to record something for it right now. So.
Ooh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. If you as I said, if you enjoyed this, guys, please like and tell me in the comments. And hope you enjoyed this, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.